There are moments in life when someone's words cut deeper than a knife, when situations feel unfair and pain shakes our heart. In those moments, our natural instinct is to react instantly, to give back the same energy we just received. But have you ever noticed that in reacting instantly, we often end up hurting ourselves even more? Life is not about the speed of our response, it is about the wisdom in our response. Just like a pond becomes clear when its ripples settle, the heart becomes calm when we pause before reacting. That pause is not weakness, it is power. That pause is not silence, it is strength. That pause is not avoidance, it is alignment with God's guidance. Today, let us reflect on how taking a pause before responding to pain can completely transform the way we live, love, and grow. A pause protects your peace. In life, peace is one of the most precious treasures we can ever hold, yet it is also one of the easiest to lose when we allow pain, anger, or frustration to dictate how we respond. Think about it. How many times have we regretted the words we spoke in the heat of the moment? How often have we replayed an argument in our minds, wishing we had stayed silent just a little longer? That pause between the pain we feel and the reaction we give is where our true strength lies. When someone hurts you, the mind immediately pushes you to answer back, to prove yourself, to retaliate. But the heart, when aligned with God, whispers something different. Wait. Do not let your peace be stolen. Peace is like a delicate flame. It does not need shouting winds to keep it alive. It needs stillness and protection. When we pause before reacting, we are, in fact, placing our hands around that flame so that it continues to burn steadily even when storms rage around us. Imagine being in traffic and suddenly someone cuts you off. The anger rises quickly, doesn't it? Our instinct is to honk the horn, yell, or even curse. But the moment you pause, you realize something. By reacting, you will not teach that person a lesson. You will only disturb your own state of mind. The driver may go on with his life, but you will carry the bitterness for hours. That pause saves you. It is not about letting others get away with wrong. It is about refusing to let them occupy your heart rent-free. Your peace is too valuable to hand over in exchange for a fleeting outburst. This principle works in relationships too. Sometimes, a loved one says something harsh, maybe out of their own stress, maybe unintentionally. If you answer immediately with equal harshness, you create a wall. But if you pause, take a breath, and remind yourself that you value the relationship more than the argument, you respond differently. Instead of escalating, you de-escalate. Instead of letting pain dominate, you let patience guide you. And that patience is what protects the peace, not only inside you, but also in the bond you share. Many relationships could have survived, many friendships could have been saved, if only a pause was taken before hurtful words were spoken. To pause is not to suppress. It is not about bottling up your feelings or ignoring the hurt. It is about giving your heart time to understand, giving your mind time to cool down, and giving God space to guide your reaction. Sometimes, when you pause, you realize that the pain was not even worth responding to. At other times, you find the right words that heal instead of hurt. That's the difference between a reaction and a response. A reaction is immediate, emotional, and often destructive. A response is thoughtful, conscious, and often healing. The pause protects your peace by giving you the gift of choice, the choice to respond instead of react. In spiritual practice, great teachers often emphasize meditation and silence. Why? Because silence builds inner strength. When you train yourself to sit quietly with your thoughts, you become less restless in the face of pain. You learn not to let every emotion control your behavior. Just as a soldier trains in peace to be calm in battle, we train in silence to be steady when life's storms come. That pause becomes easier when silence is familiar to us. And every time we succeed in pausing before reacting, we are not only protecting our peace, we are strengthening it. Think about nature. A river flowing steadily never loses itself, even when rocks disturb its path. It simply finds another way to move forward. The pause is like that. It teaches you to keep flowing instead of crashing against every obstacle. The sun does not rush to rise when darkness surrounds, it waits for the right time. Similarly, you need not rush to answer pain with pain. You can wait for the right moment to respond with dignity. When you understand this, you realize that the pause is not weakness. It is maturity. It is choosing not to let someone else's negativity dictate your energy. Many people believe peace is found when the world stops hurting us, but the truth is peace is found when we stop giving the world power over us. Hurt will come. Situations will test you. People will misunderstand you. But when you pause, you step into the space where God's presence can strengthen you. In that sacred silence, you realize that peace is not something others can give or take away. It is your connection with God, your trust in His wisdom, and your ability to rise above the smallness of anger. So the next time you feel provoked, remember that pause is your shield. Protect it, guard it, use it. Because once your peace is protected, everything else in life becomes clearer. Your decisions are better, your words are kinder, your actions are wiser. And when your inner world is calm, no outer storm can shake you. The pause does not just protect your peace, it protects your entire life from being controlled by pain. A pause allows wisdom to speak. In the rush of emotion, the voice of wisdom is often drowned out by the noise of anger, fear, or hurt. When pain strikes, the first sound we usually hear is the loud cry of our ego. Defend yourself, strike back, don't let them win. But wisdom does not shout like ego, wisdom whispers. And if we do not pause, we will never hear it. The pause is the doorway through which wisdom enters. It is the sacred gap between impulse and action, where you allow your higher self, your conscience, and God's guidance to gently speak to you before you take the next step. Think of a child in school about to take a test. If the child rushes without carefully reading the question, mistakes are almost certain. But if the child pauses, takes a moment to understand what is being asked, the right answer naturally comes. Life is like that test. Pain is the question, your reaction is the answer. If you rush, you write something messy, regretful, or even destructive. But if you pause, you give wisdom the chance to guide your pen, and your answer can transform the entire situation. In daily life, how many times have you seen people ruin opportunities because they reacted too quickly? A worker argues with his boss out of frustration, and in a few seconds loses years of trust. A friend responds in anger to a small misunderstanding, and a bond built over decades cracks. These are moments where wisdom could have saved everything, but the lack of pause gave ego the microphone. Wisdom is always available to us, but it needs silence, and silence is born only when we pause. Sometimes, the pause reveals truths we would otherwise miss. Imagine a situation where someone criticizes you harshly. If you react immediately, your focus is only on defending yourself. But if you pause, you may discover something hidden. Maybe the criticism carried a seed of truth that could help you grow. Maybe the person was speaking from their own pain, and it had little to do with you. Wisdom allows you to separate what is real from what is noise. It shows you that not every arrow shot in your direction is meant for your heart. Some are simply the other person's struggles spilling over. Without a pause, you will absorb everything and bleed unnecessarily. With a pause, you can see clearly and protect your inner balance. Wisdom also allows you to see the bigger picture. In the moment of pain, the mind narrows. We only see the insult, the loss, or the unfairness. But when you pause, you step back, and the vision expands. You begin to see not just the moment, but the journey. Sometimes what hurts you now may shape you for tomorrow. Sometimes what you lose now may prepare you for something greater. But to see this bigger picture, you need stillness. Just as you cannot see your reflection in disturbed water, you cannot see truth in a disturbed mind. Pausing allows the water of your thoughts to settle so that the reflection of God's wisdom can appear. In our spiritual journey, wisdom is not something external that we have to go out and find. It already lives inside us. But we bury it under layers of noise, haste, and emotion. When we pause, we peel back those layers. We allow the inner compass, gifted by God, to guide us. And the beauty of wisdom is that it not only protects us in the moment, it builds character for the future. Every time you pause and listen to wisdom instead of ego, you become stronger, calmer, and more centered. Over time, reacting impulsively becomes less of a habit, and responding thoughtfully becomes your natural state. Think of people you admire, the ones who carry a calm presence, whose words feel measured and meaningful. Do you think they were born that way? No, they have cultivated the art of pausing. They have trained themselves to let wisdom, not impulse, be their guide. They know that a moment of silence can save a lifetime of regret. They have realized that silence is not empty, it is full of answers. Even in nature, wisdom reveals itself through patience. A seed does not turn into a tree overnight, it pauses, hidden under the soil, before breaking through. The moon does not rush into fullness, it takes its time. In the same way, when we pause, we align ourselves with the rhythm of life, where wisdom unfolds slowly but surely. And when wisdom speaks, it never confuses, it never agitates, it always brings clarity. The next time you feel the sting of pain, remind yourself your ego is loud, but wisdom is soft. Your anger is fast, but wisdom is steady. If you want to hear wisdom, you must create space. That space is the pause. And in that pause, you are not just listening to yourself, you are listening to God. His guidance often does not come in dramatic events or loud voices. It comes in quiet realizations, subtle understandings, gentle nudges of the heart. But you can only receive them if you are willing to stop, breathe, and wait before you act. A pause breaks the cycle of hurt. When pain enters our lives, it often carries with it the temptation to pass it forward. Someone insults us, so we insult them back. Someone shouts at us, so we raise our voice even louder. Someone hurts us, and we look for a way to make them feel the same. In those moments, hurt multiplies. It spreads from one heart to another, from one home to another, and sometimes from one generation to another. But when you pause before reacting, you stop that chain. You become the wall where the cycle of hurt ends, instead of the bridge that carries it further. Think about it this way. A single spark can start a fire that burns down an entire forest, but it takes only one person with the wisdom to pour water on that spark to save the trees. When someone brings negativity into your life, they are handing you a spark. If you pass it on by reacting, you spread the flames. If you pause, breathe, and choose not to fuel it, you pour water on it. You protect not only yourself, but everyone else who would have been touched by the fire. Daily life offers endless examples. Imagine a parent who comes home tired and stressed from work. In frustration, they snap at their child. The child, hurt and confused, reacts by misbehaving. Later, the child carries that frustration to school and argues with a friend. The chain continues because no one paused. But picture the same scenario where the parent, even in stress, takes a pause before speaking. Instead of sharp words, they say, "I've had a hard day. Let me sit for a moment." The pause saves the child from carrying unnecessary hurt. The pause saves the home from unnecessary conflict. That one moment of stillness stops a ripple that could have become a wave. It is the same in friendships and relationships. A harsh word can create wounds that take years to heal. But if one person pauses, chooses silence instead of shouting, chooses compassion instead of cruelty, the argument loses its fuel. You may think that by not retaliating you are losing, but in reality you are winning the higher battle. You are not letting pain multiply, you are breaking its chain. That is not weakness, it is strength. Anyone can continue the cycle of hurt, but only a strong soul can stop it. When you pause, you also protect yourself from carrying unnecessary burdens. Retaliation may give momentary satisfaction, but it leaves behind guilt, regret, and heaviness. On the other hand, choosing to pause frees you. You don't walk away with the extra weight of words you wish you hadn't spoken. You walk away light because you know you did not allow someone else's darkness to dim your light. You chose to end the negativity right there. There is a deep spiritual lesson here too. Pain often comes to test whether we will mirror it or transform it. When we mirror pain, we reflect back the same energy we received. When we transform pain, we change its form, turning anger into patience, insult into silence, and hurt into understanding. Transformation can only happen in the pause. Without it, we act on instinct and mirror what we receive. With it, we act on wisdom and change what we carry forward. And in doing so, we align ourselves with God's way, for His presence is always transforming. Darkness to light, storms to calm, wounds to healing. Think about the stories we admire in life. They are not stories of people who simply reacted like everyone else. They are stories of those who broke the pattern, who refused to give back hate for hate, who chose love when anger was expected. History remembers them because they were rare. In a world where everyone reacts, the one who pauses stands out. The one who refuses to continue the cycle of hurt becomes an inspiration for generations. You do not need to look far to see the power of breaking the cycle. Picture a workplace where gossip spreads like wildfire. One person says something negative about a colleague, and within hours, it reaches 10 more people, each adding their own twist. But imagine if just one person paused and said, "I will not repeat this." The chain breaks there. The negativity ends. That single pause changes the environment for everyone. The pause is powerful because it gives you a choice. Hurt wants to control you, to push you into reacting without thought. But when you pause, you reclaim your freedom. You decide whether to continue the cycle or end it. And when you choose to end it, you not only protect yourself, you protect countless others from the ripple effect of your reaction. Life is full of unavoidable pain, but it is also full of opportunities to transform it. Every hurtful word, every misunderstanding, every disappointment is a test. Will you pass it on, or will you stop it here? The pause is your answer. It is the shield that prevents hurt from spreading further. It is the moment where you choose not to be a carrier of pain, but a source of healing. A pause builds stronger relationships. Human connections are delicate, like threads that weave together the fabric of our lives. With every word we speak, Every reaction we give, we either strengthen that fabric or we tear it apart. Relationships are not destroyed in one day, they are chipped away by repeated misunderstandings, harsh words, and instant reactions. Yet they can also be nurtured and fortified by small acts of patience, understanding, and silence. The pause, though small, is one of the most powerful tools we have to protect and strengthen our bonds with others. Think about an argument between two close friends. One says something hurtful, maybe out of stress or misunderstanding. The natural instinct of the other is to reply with equal sharpness. But imagine if in that heated moment, one of them pauses. Instead of firing back, they take a deep breath, reflect for a moment, and choose to respond with kindness, or perhaps no words at all. What happens then? The argument loses its intensity. The fire is not fueled further. Space is created for understanding. That one pause saves the friendship from the weight of unnecessary bitterness. In family life, the importance of pausing before reacting cannot be overstated. Families are built on love, but they are tested by everyday stress. A parent overwhelmed with responsibilities may scold a child more harshly than intended. A partner, exhausted after a long day, may say something careless. These are natural human moments. But relationships suffer when one harsh word is answered with another, when one mistake is met with retaliation instead of patience. The pause is what allows love to re-enter the situation. Instead of replying in anger, the parent pauses and realizes that the child did not mean harm. Instead of answering with equal sharpness, the partner pauses and remembers the bond they share is more important than the moment of frustration. These pauses are what keep relationships alive, healthy, and strong. In friendships, marriages, workplaces, and communities, the pause communicates something very profound: respect. When you pause before responding, you are saying to the other person, I value this connection more than my impulse. I value you enough to control my reaction. That silent respect builds trust. People begin to feel safe around you because they know that even in moments of conflict, you will not let anger or ego dominate the relationship. Safety is the foundation of all deep connections, and the pause is one of the ways we create that safety for others. Consider how many relationships are lost not because of huge betrayals, but because of small, repeated reactions. A spouse who always answers defensively, a friend who always retaliates when criticized, a colleague who never listens before replying. Over time, these small instant reactions build walls between people. But on the other side, relationships blossom when people practice pausing. A friend who listens even when hurt. A spouse who chooses silence over shouting. A colleague who waits to understand before responding. These small acts may not seem dramatic, but they are what create lasting bonds. There is also a spiritual element in this. Relationships are not just about two people, they are sacred opportunities to experience God's love in human form. Every pause before reacting is not only for the sake of the person in front of you, it is also for the sake of the divine presence within them. When you pause, you honor that presence. You remind yourself that this person is not just their mistake or their harsh words. They are also a soul, a child of God, worthy of patience and kindness. This perspective deepens the meaning of relationships and strengthens them at the core. Practical examples make this truth even clearer. Imagine two business partners in a disagreement. One feels betrayed because of a decision the other made. Tension builds quickly. If both react instantly, accusing and defending, the partnership may collapse. But if even one of them pauses, reflects, and says, let's discuss this calmly, because our vision is more important than this conflict. Everything changes. The pause opens the door for dialogue instead of destruction. It keeps the relationship strong enough to survive challenges. Or think of a teacher and student. The student makes a mistake and the teacher feels frustration rising. If the teacher reacts instantly with anger, the student may feel belittled or discouraged. But if the teacher pauses, breathes, and chooses to guide with patience, the student feels supported instead of attacked. That pause builds trust and respect between them. Over time, this relationship becomes a source of growth and confidence for the student. The truth is, relationships thrive not on perfection but on grace. Everyone will make mistakes. Everyone will say things they don't mean. Everyone will have bad days. The strength of a relationship depends not on avoiding these moments, but on how we handle them. If we react impulsively every time, the relationship weakens. But if we pause, we create room for forgiveness, understanding, and love to step in. This is how relationships survive storms and grow stronger after them. So the next time you find yourself on the edge of reacting to someone you love, remember this. Your reaction in that moment is not just about winning or losing the argument. It is about building or breaking the relationship. Words once spoken cannot be taken back, but words held back with patience can save a bond. The pause is not a sign that you are letting someone take advantage of you. It is a sign that you value the connection enough to protect it from unnecessary damage. When you practice this consistently, people begin to feel the difference. They feel safer around you. They trust you more. They respect you deeply. And in return, they also learn to pause for you. Slowly, the culture of the relationship shifts from reaction to reflection, from conflict to connection. That is how the pause builds not just stronger relationships, but lasting ones, relationships that can stand the test of time, pain, and misunderstanding. A pause allows wisdom to speak. In the rush of emotion, the voice of wisdom is often drowned out by the noise of anger, fear, or hurt. When pain strikes, the first sound we usually hear is the loud cry of our ego. Defend yourself, strike back, don't let them win. But wisdom does not shout like ego, wisdom whispers. And if we do not pause, we will never hear it. The pause is the doorway through which wisdom enters. It is the sacred gap between impulse and action, where you allow your higher self, your conscience, and God's guidance to gently speak to you before you take the next step. Think of a child in school about to take a test. If the child rushes without carefully reading the question, mistakes are almost certain. But if the child pauses, takes a moment to understand what is being asked, the right answer naturally comes. Life is like that test. Pain is the question, your reaction is the answer. If you rush, you write something messy, regretful, or even destructive. But if you pause, you give wisdom the chance to guide your pen, and your answer can transform the entire situation. In daily life, how many times have you seen people ruin opportunities because they reacted too quickly? A worker argues with his boss out of frustration, and in a few seconds loses years of trust. A friend responds in anger to a small misunderstanding, and a bond built over decades cracks. These are moments where wisdom could have saved everything, but the lack of pause gave ego the microphone. Wisdom is always available to us, but it needs silence, and silence is born only when we pause. Sometimes, the pause reveals truths we would otherwise miss. Imagine a situation where someone criticizes you harshly. If you react immediately, your focus is only on defending yourself. But if you pause, you may discover something hidden. Maybe the criticism carried a seed of truth that could help you grow. Maybe the person was speaking from their own pain, and it had little to do with you. Wisdom allows you to separate what is real from what is noise. It shows you that not every arrow shot in your direction is meant for your heart. Some are simply the other person's struggles spilling over. Without a pause, you will absorb everything and bleed unnecessarily. With a pause, you can see clearly and protect your inner balance. Wisdom also allows you to see the bigger picture. In the moment of pain, the mind narrows. We only see the insult, the loss, or the unfairness. But when you pause, you step back, and the vision expands. You begin to see not just the moment, but the journey. Sometimes what hurts you now may shape you for tomorrow. Sometimes what you lose now may prepare you for something greater. But to see this bigger picture, you need stillness. Just as you cannot see your reflection in disturbed water, you cannot see truth in a disturbed mind. Pausing allows the water of your thoughts to settle so that the reflection of God's wisdom can appear. In our spiritual journey, wisdom is not something external that we have to go out and find. It already lives inside us. But we bury it under layers of noise, haste, and emotion. When we pause, we peel back those layers. We allow the inner compass, gifted by God, to guide us. And the beauty of wisdom is that it not only protects us in the moment, it builds character for the future. Every time you pause and listen to wisdom instead of ego, you become stronger, calmer, and more centered. Over time, reacting impulsively